It is my great pleasure to introduce the moderator of the panel, Svetlana Gritsenko, member of the board, Viktor Pinchuk Foundation. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear guests. Thank you very much for joining this panel, which is, I find, really special and really important. Today we have fantastic panelists who will be sharing their views, their ways, and the role of women, how they see it at war in Ukraine. And I don't want to take long, and I would like to invite all the panelists to this stage. Please welcome. Today in Ukraine, over 60,000 of women are in the armed forces, and much more are being medics, volunteers, and doing much more to approach the victory of Ukraine. Today we invited 5 fantastic women, each in its own way, but doing its best to help Ukraine win. And I wouldn't like to take long for the introduction of this session. I believe the most important for you is to hear their stories, and via these stories to understand what is actually ongoing in Ukraine, what is the role of women at this war, is it different from the role of men, what women in Ukraine actually do to get the victory closer for Ukraine. So I'd like to pass my word to the first speaker, Julia Paievska, with the combat name Tyra. Julia, the word is yours.
Well, thank you very much. It's okay. Того року я була тут же.
Last year, I also participated in discussions here in Davos, and I'm greatly thankful to all of you for being with us. I'm glad that there are as many people as last year here. I'm thankful to all of you for taking care of Ukraine, of caring about the role of women in the war. I will be the voice of those who are deprived of their voice, those who cannot speak because they are either kept prisoners of war or held hostages or are in the occupied territories or cannot speak because of their physical or psychological issues. I will be speaking on behalf and on behest of those who were captured, who were oppressed, who were devalued through this occupation, those who were robbed of their children, whose children were taken to Russia, those who were, again, deprived of the opportunity to speak their mother tongue, those who were robbed of their natural private life, those who are still there in captivity, medics, women and men. And it's hard to believe. Some of them are needle workers, some of them are cooks, and they are accused of awful crimes by the Russians. These are people who cannot eat. Normally, they don't have any sanitary things. I have been prisoner of war. I know how they treat our POWs or other captives. I have never met a person who would hear a good word from the Russians. I have never met any prisoners of war or captives held by Russians who would be heard by their captors. Those who haven't been there cannot possibly imagine how life is like there. And my only desire is for this war to end in fair peace, in our victory. And I wish that everyone who is kept hostage or in the occupation could share their stories with the world, tell the international community what has been going on there under the occupation. Anybody, any human body has this specific capacity to reactivate a lot of functions that they've never used before, or on the opposite, make some of their functions dormant. When you bleed profusely, then the body will be sparingly bringing blood to your limbs so that your heart and your mind had enough oxygen and blood. That's exactly what happens to my country, to the texture of our society. It is very akin to what a human body goes through. I saw people die. I saw children die. I saw a 500,000 strong city, Mariupol, being killed by the enemy. So do not let us die as a nation. Support us, otherwise this terror will pursue you. And if you think now that it's impossible, that's exactly what we felt before the war. We all together are shaping our future. What is ahead of us, what we are going to leave behind for our children, and we have to take care of them right now. Right now, not tomorrow, not the day after, not down the road, but today. We need military equipment, we need ammunition, we need armament. I plead you to enhance my voice. Speak on behalf of those who are voiceless now. Support us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia, for such an important message, I would say, you delivered. I'm not quite sure why we have a gap here. I think we'll just maybe for everybody. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I'm not sure where it's here. And I'd like to pass a word to a woman that had really a strong path and a long path at this war. And I'd like to pass a word to you, Luda Minuk, with a combat mate MALVA.
Я український солдат.
I'm a Ukrainian soldier. I'm the chief sergeant of the assault company. I won't be telling you how brave or resilient I am as a Ukrainian woman. I am a Ukrainian soldier, and I've seen a lot of heroic deeds committed by my comrades in arms. I was valued by my country, and I was decorated by my government. And I would like to appeal to the women of the world with my story. It is a story of a family of the Ukrainian soldier. I used to be just a mother, a grandmother. I'm 58 now. But then, all of a sudden, the aggressor ruined my life, that of my family. My son was killed in that war, my younger son, Sviatoslav MENIUK. He laid down his life for the sake of his country. My husband was wounded, was maimed by this war. This war also wounded me, but I couldn't sit on the fence, go to the shelters, or to the basement. I wanted this war to be over as soon as possible. I wanted my grandchildren to see a free Ukraine again. I don't want my grandchildren to have to fight. I want them to be alive. I want all children of Ukraine to be alive. I don't want this war to destroy and wound my country. I don't want this war to go over, to spill over to other countries of Europe. But without military support, without the armament that we so badly need, we would be killed. All of us would be killed, and you will have to fight for your children, for your grandchildren. So I appeal to the women of the world, because I believe that women altogether form a huge force. They are wise, they are brave, and women's power and the motherly instinct of every woman is a wonder. So this war has taken away my son from me, but this war also endowed me with thousands of sons and daughters in the armed forces of Ukraine. I am proud to be a Ukrainian woman. I am proud to stand tall in my own land. And it is the time now that our children should be protected. If you look at the Ukrainian map, you will see lots of shelters where children are cowering from the shelling and missile attacks. And in the future, I'm sure my grandchildren will watch this video and they will see me appealing to the world to help them, my grandchildren. Please save lives of the smart, talented, best children of this world. Thank you very much. I thank you, and I hope you will support us. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.
It's really hard to speak after your such a frank message. And it goes deep into the hearts. It went deep to mine, and I'm sure it went deeply into the hearts of the audience that is here. And I'd like to pass a word to our next panelist, who also has a long story at this war and doing so much every single day. So I'd like to pass a word to you, Masha.
I'm not a fraction as heroic as these women, but I have a story to tell about women in the army. And my name is Maria. I train other combat medics, just a little bit of frontline work, but I mostly teach people for 10 years now. In 2017, I was a part of a team who created combat medics in Ukrainian army. And last year, I have fulfilled my 10-year dream, because we as a team have started pre-hospital blood transfusion in Ukrainian army. We haven't been doing this for 10 years of war, and we started in 2022, and we have a victory for us and for our wounded patients. We have done this with my dearest friend, IRYNA. She's in a medical company, and with her we have implemented this blood transfusion, and it was very risky for our command. They would not like us to do that. They were not very sure that it works. This is how we train our medics with that. No, that's fine. It's just a couple of photos of how we do pre-hospital blood transfusions. And our command was thinking it's a very risky thing. Despite there is universal blood that you can administer to everyone, despite it having a big experience from US Army. So we are doing this like 5 kilometers from the front line, fresh blood transfusion from person to person, and we know how to do it safe. So a couple of months ago, Chief Medical Officer of paratroopers has been presenting this to his doctors, and he said, I quote, he's not fond of blood transfusion, etc., and he says, I quote, now we have to do these blood transfusions as these girlies have said we have to do. he wanted to diminish us. He said, these girlies. But he said, we have to do it now because of these girlies. And this is something that we were celebrating, despite him being not very pleasant to us. But it was not all this fun all the time. I want you to imagine 2014, 10 years ago. You're about to turn 18. It's me. And the war starts in your country. And you know it's the right thing to join the army. And everybody says it's not the right place that you have to be. And they're true, except one part. War in 2014 is not for anyone. Because army of 2014 is not ready to fight with these forces. And we do not have Western aid. We do not have those weapons that we have now, and that we are waiting to have more. And so it's a place for nobody. And to that extent that you cannot legally hold a position of combat, in combat. You cannot legally hold a position of gunner, machine gunner, grenade launcher, sniper as a female. But good for me, they still accept medics, and this is what I do. But I want you to imagine this visually. For our commanders, a woman medic at war is Florence Nightingale in 2014. So they don't issue you a long dress with Red Cross apron. They do not do that. But they don't expect you to be in combat. But your enemy has other plans. So it is very clear that it does not work. You cannot organize proper medical care if your medic is very far from the front line. But they still don't want you to be there, so it's like you have to choose something. 2 years later, after this, we started the program with combat medics. We learned that we cannot put hospitals 20, 100 kilometers from the front line. We need combat medics who will be in trenches, who will be in fields, who will be in tank and artillery units with their soldiers. And we start training for them. So it's very thorough, extremely thorough selection, extremely hard training, physically, mentally, intellectually. And it's open to women, and they show same results as men. Absolutely. That was perfectly fine. And after this training, they go to war, and you still feel like you don't belong here, because many people would say you do not belong there. But if something requires a hero to do it, it will not work with mortals. If you need to be a hero, it's not a system that's working. So we start thinking that it's proper thing that a medic can be female or male. Medics should be in trenches. Medics should be very close to the wounded patient. So it becomes more and more clear. And again, I was 18 and 20, and I gained more of that, like surgeon's weight, to the point when I come to our training center to conduct final exam for combat medics, and one of our trainees says, "Are you one of the founding mothers?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but you still do 20 more push-ups." And he said, "Yeah, sure, okay." So I gain all that, and 2022 comes, full-scale war, national liberation war, and tens of thousands of civilians come into the army. And among them, there are very many men who look at me and they say, "What should I do, master, sergeant?" what we have to do. Because it is perfectly true that a woman can do anything, right? Because it's true that they will need an advice for someone who has chosen army before. And when I worked in general staff, we had a lot of gender equality trainings and lectures. And they have been always saying that there is sexism in our army. You will not join NATO with this sexism. Turns out it's not the sexism that doesn't allow us into NATO, but that's a whole other story, right? So I listen to that and I understand what they say. Yes, my abilities have been questioned. I have been told that it's only search for a man, for a husband, that a woman can join army for. I was told that. But I thought, I will do my thing. I will do what I do best. And at the end of the day, they come to me and say, what do we do? So in 2022, very many thousands of people came into the army, and there were very many women. And they were coming to me as to a person who has experience with the army, and they were saying how to survive in the army. Of course, it's only about gender issues. There is no recipe how to survive with aerial bombs. They only ask how to survive if you're a female in the army. And I was saying, yeah, do your thing, build your authority, it will all be fine. Do not let anyone diminish you. Do not let them do things for you. If they say, let me carry your bag for you, like what, aren't you a soldier? If you can do something, you can train how to do this. So, and I say all of that, and I don't know what their destiny will be in the army. But in a couple of weeks, or even, I don't know, days, they stop asking these questions because they find their true selves in the army. They find themselves in their units, and the puzzle matches. They're just on their positions. Because it's very hard to fight injustice when you're not represented, when you're outside of that group. You can conduct a million seminars on gender equality, but you have to see a woman in the army on different positions. I know medics, drone pilots, logistics officer, commander of artillery unit, chief of reconnaissance of an assault battalion. These are women that I know in the army. In 2014, I was a weird little creature to the army, and nobody knows what to do with you. In 2024, there are thousands of us in the army, and this is how we combat that sexism. This is how we get into NATO, I guess. And this is how we can really feel that the Western values that we have been talking about for a very long time, they come to life. They are real, and sometimes we make them real even more than those who have been talking with us about them, right? So it may be that a Ukrainian regular soldier will not pass a written test on gender equality, but it's a Ukrainian woman who fights in a war, the biggest after Second World War. And does she know that she fights sexism? Probably not. We have equal rights, and one of the most important rights is the right for life. And we defend this right with equal duties, and we have an equal need for weapons to protect us. And the last thing that I wanted to say about this gender-related issue, because there's probably the issue that you came to hear about. Me and my friend Rina, that we have been doing blood transfusions together, she said, I want to be in the world when somebody comes to say, I'm a female fighter, I'm a female soldier, and everybody in the room says, yeah, so what? So we're all female fighters, but so what? Because while we are here, many of our sisters in arms are in our positions, are in our places, and are defending us and the whole world for good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maria. And I'd like to pass a word to you, Irina. Please share your story with us.
Дякую вам. Дякую, що ви нас чуєте.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hearing us. And that's very important. When I was listening to Tyra, to Malva, I understood that the world in TikTok was watching how Australian plants and animals disappear. And now there's a country where Ukrainians are being eliminated, are disappearing. I want to tell you that our war has started in Maidan. Practically everyone who is here now, both Maria and Tyra and myself, we are medics from the Maidan. I came to Maidan because our leadership at that time decided to change the course of the country and become pro-Russian. We could not allow ourselves to do this because Ukraine is Europe, and I think that you see now how we fight for our right to be Europe. When I came to Maidan, there were first people killed there. I came there from my office And I never thought that I would be a paramedic, that I will provide assistance and help, and who will carry out the people who were killed or wounded on the 20th of February. And I saw how the lives of people ended when you held them in their hands. And I couldn't do anything. When the war started, when the Russians seized Crimea, I became a volunteer and I saw what I can do myself. It is hard to believe, but Ukraine now depends on people and stands on the duty of the people who adopt their decisions. My husband and my son-in-law are military people. We have 3 people in the military in our family, so they are defending us. And I do everything possible that in the rear, that rear is responsible and reliable. Together with Ukrzaliznytsia, Ukrainian Railway, we have changed the method and ways of evacuating the wounded. I can't tell you everything because this is sensitive information, but many foreign guests, including Ursula von der Leyen, when they came, they were amazed at what we were doing. That's because we had the need to transport many wounded and simultaneously provide them with medical help. And we involved absolutely the best medical specialists, and they are Ukrainian, and we were making this story together. I am proud of the fact that we have transported a tremendous number of wounded people, and we have lost no one. We are looking and finding the best preparations and best medicines, and we are asking the specialists how to even improve, and we are doing it. I say that it's impossible to understand what the war is. We can tell you everything. Tyra can tell about captivity. MALVA can tell you that her son was killed. But until a Russian missile hit the block of flats where my daughter lives, you know, we have come to differently perceive danger. Like, for instance, well, yes, the missile hit the house, but it has only smashed the windows. But you know, our cats are alive. The first thing that we thought was about the cats. And you know, while we were the flat below us, a refrigerator flew in because of the wave, of the blow wave, explosion wave, and there was a scalp of a person in that refrigerator, and they waited for 3 hours until the police came. And you know, we have applications on our telephones which alert us to air raid alerts, and that was what happened today. And what we started to do, we started to call all our relatives and acquaintances asking, are you okay? You can help us. We understand that there's only one Ukraine. You cannot go somewhere and fight another Ukraine. We have to fight for it. And I want to show you the face of a man who died, and I want to tell you about his story and the story of his widow, Vitaly Kirkish-Antonenko. He volunteered for the army when the huge war started on the 24th of February. His wife and he wanted kids very much, but they were protracted with it because they thought that you should do something important. She got pregnant, and I was able to drag him out for this photo session. This is a fundraising book, and he came back to the front line and he was killed. She was 3 months pregnant, and they got to know during his visit that they will have a daughter. He saw this at the ultrasound research test. They agreed that she will be called Vitalina, and she was carrying the child for another 6 months after his death. We helped her, and now Vitalina is 7 months old, and she's absolutely resembling her father. And this is a very important story that will linger after him. But please, don't let Ukrainians disappear this way.
Your story as well as the story of Vitaly. Christia, I wanted to pass the word to you, but first of all, I want to say that the Timothy Foundation have been standing with Ukraine from the first days and actually all the time. And I want to thank as the organization, as you personally for doing this, including supporting Ukraine House Davos here this year. And I would like to pass a word to you, and it will be really interesting for us to see, to learn, how you see, if you see internationally the role of women, what are women doing in Ukraine if it's heard anywhere on international arena, and what do you see while supporting Ukrainian women in Ukraine?
Thank you, Svetlana. So first, thank you for inviting me to speak today. I'm truly honored and humbled to share the stage with such incredible, inspiring, strong women. Julia, IRYNA, LIUDMILA, Maria. We wouldn't be here without women like you and the thousands more that are in Ukraine, so thank you for everything that you do. The Timothy Foundation, which I work for, is a Canadian-based foundation. It was started in 1997 by James and Louise Timothy. James Timothy was born in Donbass, and he always had a strong sense of giving back to his community. And one of the priorities of the foundation is to support Ukrainian causes globally. Since the full scale of invasion, we set 2 clear priorities for the foundation. The first was to support organizations on the ground in Ukraine who are getting aid into the communities that really need it. And the second is to support global conversation and global initiatives around Ukraine. So I'd like to just take a few minutes to speak about each of those, how we're helping, and then get back to the stories that really are here to inspire us. As we heard from some of the stories that we've heard today, the role of women in war zones is really multifaceted. Women have been known to take on complex and sometimes conflicting roles. They are fighters, they're humanitarians, they're community leaders, they're mothers, they're daughters, they're local and global advocates, they're businesswomen, politicians, wives, laborers, the list goes on. And frankly, most of the women in Ukraine are doing this all while also being survivors of the trauma of war. I'm getting goosebumps right now as I say that, because every time I go to Ukraine and I interact with women from all walks of life, I'm always taken aback by their resilience, their perseverance, their passion, and their commitment to the victory of Ukraine. At the Timothy Foundation, we support organizations focused on strengthening their communities, supplying humanitarian aid, and keeping the next generation hopeful in Ukraine. Support organizations like Veteran Hub, that's led by Ivona Kostina, Unbroken, where we work closely with Marianna Svirchuk. We help the medical initiatives of Unite with Ukraine, which is headed by Dr. Olesya Vinnik, United 24, headed by Yaroslava Hres, the Olena Zelenska Foundation, headed by Nina Gorbachova, all organizations that are doing critical work in Ukraine and all led by women. All of these women and all of the women on the stage here are using their time and talents to support Ukraine's victory, and I feel it incumbent upon all of us to support them. We can do this with resources, but we can also do it by sharing their stories. So I'm here to encourage everybody in the international community to support these women and the thousands of women like them in Ukraine. Without international support, it will be a very hard battle for them. And with that, I'd like to touch a bit on the global advocacy piece. Ukraine needs international support from its allies. It needs the continued support. Women are playing a crucial role in this space. Look at Ukraine House, for example. Ukraine House, which is an incredibly important platform, is run all by women. And we are very proud to support those women, and we're very grateful for the work that they do to engage in this very important conversation. Yesterday, we heard from Ambassador Markarova. She and many other female ambassadors around the world are having critical conversations, including Ambassador Yulia Kovalyev in Canada. And we're always in awe of the way that they're able to articulate the need for continued support for Ukraine. The First Lady herself, the President's wife, is an inspiring global advocate, and the work that she does on the world stage to share stories and to make sure that the world understands and doesn't forget the plight that Ukraine is going for is critical. Yulia, Irina, Maria, Lyudmila were brave enough to come here today and tell their stories. And so we need to share them. We need to support them, and if you can't do that monetarily, then we need to support these women and the tens of thousands of other women in Ukraine by sharing their stories, not letting the world forget, and being their #1 advocates. Lyudmila had said when we first sat down and we were all chatting that it's just important to start somewhere. Whenever you're taking something on, you need to start something. He said that upstairs. Do something. These women are taking action. They're incredible. They're inspiring. And I encourage all of us to join them and take action and help Ukraine see victory this year.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We don't have really much time left, but still, I don't want to be egoistic, and I would like to pass the floor to the audience. Maybe if somebody wants to ask a question, wants to comment, or wants to say something, please raise your hand, and we'll be happy to pass a word to you. Any questions, any comments, anything you'd like to say? Okay. But, okay, I'll be egoistic because I have too many questions I would like to ask. And actually, one of the questions that, while we announced the panel, what I was asked for other people, do actually women feel being discriminated at the war now in Ukraine? Do you feel this on a daily basis or you don't?
When you have a weapon, you can never feel that.
Do you?
В українській армії точно.
In Ukrainian armed forces, there is no discrimination whatsoever. But I don't know anything about the Russian armed forces. So, because they are beyond the pale. Whatever they do is beyond human. So make sure that neither men nor women ever get into captivity, even ever become prisoners of war or captives by the Russians. This should not be happening in the 21st century. But I've never been discriminated against by anyone in the Ukrainian army. Perhaps it's because of my appearance, but Ukraine is the feminine when it comes to grammatic gender, and we believe that Ukrainian women play the key role in the country by and large. During the war, sometimes women are commanders, and they give instructions to men soldiers. But we know that we are united by countering our common enemy, Russians, who are Brits. They are inhumane. They are inhuman, if you wish. They have no pity. They destroy countries. They annihilate people. They ruin culture. I hate them, frankly speaking. And I am the practicing psychologist. That's my civilian métier. Can you tell me this? We are all very well aware that Russians are very brutal and cruel. I live abroad. I don't live in Ukraine. I've lived in Italy for 30 years now. And foreigners do not see it. They do not realize how cruel, how atrocious this war is. Will there be any opportunity for people like you to share this story openly with documents, with pictures? It is extremely difficult to prove it to foreigners, to Europeans, that Russians are good guys and women. Russian people are kind. It's only Putin who is a brute and who is the war criminal. They can't understand that it's the entire nation that behaves like that. When the war is over, we will learn everything about the war crimes. Some of the war crimes have been documented, and there is very powerful and very potent evidence. We can't disclose all of the evidence because the investigation is ongoing. But there is archive from Mariupol that was under siege, where I worked as a paramedic, and I was in charge of triage in Mariupol military hospital number 553. I did that for 3 weeks, and I saw wounded women, children, civilians, or military alike. We do have this archive. I cannot publicize all of the data because some people are still in captivity, some have gone missing, so we cannot broadly publicize it at this stage. But we can give a floor to some of the witnesses if their faces are blurred. And there are a lot of documents, there is a lot of video footage with the testament of the former prisoners of war. And I, of course, also provided my statements, witness statements, and statements of the former prisoner of war. Yeah. I was interviewed in captivity, and you could see that it was all staged. If I can add, you should not wait till the war ends, not for the better or more opportune moment. You've got all of the evidence available right now. The evidence of their war crimes. 20 Days in Mariupol is a movie that was nominated and shortlisted for Oscar. And you could see this footage of Tyra assisting people in non-occupied Mariupol and providing medical care to a Russian soldier, and then providing this care to Ukrainian wounded soldiers upon siege of Mariupol. So speak to other people and try to reach out to people in the countries where you live. Or else you can come to Ukraine and see what's going on right now. So if you are scared, invite a journalist who is brave enough, a war journalist who knows how to work in conflict zones. There are quite many of them, and if you purposefully look for them, you will find them. I don't have to look for them, but in general, by and large, in Europe, people are reluctant to listen to sad news. And when I first declared that Russia is a terrorist state, I felt a lot of hostility on the part of people around me. I was once in Australia, and journalists asked me whether I felt sad, because Australian media did not pay as much attention to Ukraine as before because of the war in Israel. And I said, it's up to you, journalists, to decide whether to focus on Ukraine or not. And whatever you convey to the people, or whatever messages you get across to the people, would shape their public opinion. And I know that Russians are very proactive and very aggressive in their propaganda in Italy. It's not only Putin's war, and we combat medics know that because we provide medical assistance to Russian prisoners of war. There are lots of them, thousands. Putin does not push the button of the missile flying against us in our sleeping houses. I'm Vitaly Kondratyuk from Brussels, and I used to go to the same school with Julia Paievska. I'm extremely glad to meet her in Davos. I would like to thank all of you. I was also participant of Maidan. I worked as a chaplain at the front line, and you make me proud to be a Ukrainian. You are sometimes stronger and more resilient even than Ukrainian men. Yulia, where did you get this strength, this resilience to go through the hell of captivity? I am a chaplain, I'm priest, and I'm asking you to give me some reason, spiritual reason. For one thing, I am extremely obstinate. I decided that I would not be broken. They could kill me, but they will never make me say what they wanted me to say and what I didn't want to say. Speaking about my physical state, I was at that time preparing for the Invictus Games, so I was in a very good physical shape, and then I was in the besieged Mariupol, and then in captivity. And I'm sure that we have to raise our children so that they are strong enough, and we can serve as role models to them. And even though everything around me told me I would die, but I hoped and against hope, and I prayed to stay alive. Speaking about Invictus Games, a friend of mine returned from Thailand to Mariupol to be with his comrades in them. And
It was.
I didn't have a question, I just also wanted to comment. Хотіла подякувати за шалене натхнення.
I wanted to thank for the inspiration you gave me. I live in Poland now. I'm from Ukraine, but I live in Poland. We are working there, making business there, and we thought that we were absolutely in our right, that we were making our business and paying our taxes, but on behalf of all our female audience here, thank you for your inspiration. I will be also spreading information. Just a small remark. I am a founder and commander of the untold unit, which is evacuating people from the front line, and those were the civilians who came to help medics, and very often there were girls with eyelashes and lips and nails, and I was thinking that okay, they will flee in a couple of days, but you know, in a couple of days they were cutting off their nails, they were not using makeup anymore, and the girls are starting to work, and in spite of the blood, of the fear, of shelling, of all the scares of war. They are very adequate and very helpful. It is not important what your gender is. It is important what you have in your heart and in your head. Love will save the world. No.
I heard the remark from the hall that we spoke only about women, but I want to say that the focus of the panel was about the women's role. But the messages we want to deliver, they were both for women and the men. We are grateful for support as from women as from the men. And we're happy to hear that some of you already inspired and got more motivation to act, to do. And all of us, all the panelists are really grateful for this, and we hope for your support. And I want to thank you, the panelists. I want to thank you, all the ladies. You did a great job. You delivered really important and strong messages, and let's hope for the victory of Ukraine. Thank you.
And glory to Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Let's support. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my great pleasure to distribute these, small gifts to keep you warm also on the front line. Дякуємо.
Дякую.
Дякуємо вам.